Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Crystal Water Experience podcast. And today I'm going to be talking about activation. Specifically, something you might have started hearing about, NRF1 and NRF2 activators. And it's all related to the mitochondria oxidative stress, and that being some of the major root causes of disease. It's very much these deregulation of those things cause a lot of disease, apparently. And if you fix them, you see a lot of recovery. Well, a lot of companies out there have claims about various supplements, etc., but how many of them actually have clinical studies and can show reduction in oxidative stress in the body? Well, I'm going to bring you a lady today called Melanie Wakelin, who I've been speaking to for the last probably more than 12 months. And this lady is slap bang in the middle of this area, is extremely knowledgeable, and has been working with people on this exact area for the last 10 years. And we're going to pick her brain today about NRF1 and NRF2, what they are, and what her company does, and some testimonials and her experience of going on this journey. So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today, Melanie. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, Joe. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Great. Now, we're going to be very careful because we're very mindful of how we communicate. We're not here about, you know, blowing trumpets over extending the value of products and things like that. We really want to get down to the science. And this is what's drawn me to this company, LifeVantage, because they're very much about scientific methodologies. And when they speak about the products, they don't oversell things. And I think that's really important. Having seen and worked with a lot of companies over the last 5 years, I know that that is not true of very many, perhaps the majority of them, in order to try and get their messages across. But what I'm really impressed with talking to Melanie and researching the products for myself and trying the products for myself, um, they are really interested in getting information out there to people. And what the NRF1 and NRF2 activators do, it's not a supplement, everybody. It is literally getting your own body switched on in such a way that it can start repairing itself. And you guys know that I am all about that. I'm not about unnatural supplementation or, injections that might unnaturally elevate, hormones or anything in your body, because your body then is out of balance. So these products really, really sang to me, and it's probably something you've never heard of. And so we've got a lady here who knows all about this stuff, but she's a layperson, so she's not going to overcomplicate it like I tend to do. And she's gonna bring you in, hopefully nice and gently, and explain why you should know what NRF1 and NRF2 is. So, Melanie, maybe you can take us right back to the beginning. How did you hear about NRF1 and NRF2 activators?
Yeah, so believe it or not, when I heard about this, there was only NRF2. And I my husband had fallen and hurting himself. He'd fallen off our steps with some black ice. And I had a friend of mine say, "Hey, Melanie, have you heard about Protandim, NRF2?" And I said, "No, absolutely." And I started looking for it. I started searching for it in my area. I went out and found somebody that had it. And I was talking to her about it, and she started sharing with me what had transpired in her dog with this.
Right.
So then I started seeing all this research, and I started to get a tiny little grasp of what this was all about. And I did not know then how important it was, the path that it would lead me on, that it would actually turn into a business at all. I was not looking for a business, but I was interested in what I was hearing her tell me about what this had done in her dog. And this dog was end stage of life, kidney failure. And this dog lived for another 3 years after she started giving this to him. And so that fascinated me because the blood work changed after. And I started realizing that part of the reason that we knew about this here in my particular area was because of a pathologist in the area who was passionate about cellular biology. And I'm like, oh, this has some credence, this has some merit. And I started looking into it. And what I found fascinated me, what I found excited me, and I started sharing it with a few people, my mom, my sister, a few others. And what I saw happen in their vitality and in their life, and some of them have bigger stories than others, and we're fighting bigger health battles than others, was that their vitality returned. And a lot of their symptoms of this, of aging or symptoms of what they were experiencing were diminishing. So now we can't say that this treats, cures, or prevents anything, but we can say that it reduces your body's cellular oxidative stress. And that cellular oxidative stress is the root cause of most about anything. So if you go on to PubMed, which is the US database for medical research, you'll find that if you look up oxidative stress, there's hundreds of thousands of studies on all different types of conditions. So if you're like, well, is this going to apply to osteoarthritis, or is this going to apply to anything that I may be experiencing? You can just go do a quick Google search and find out whether whatever it is that you're experiencing is related to oxidative stress. And if it is, it stands to reason that if you diminish that cellular oxidative stress, that you will be not, let's just say, not doing damage, that you will, be turning back the direction of where you are. So that really excited me. I've been doing this for 10 years. I started sharing it with more and more people. I did not realize then that this would become, honestly, the most important thing that I have ever done. Because what I have seen in 10 years is that thousands of people have changed the trajectory of their wellness and their vitality. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I have been sharing this, and I have seen what has happened is it's like the domino effects, right? You push over one domino, and what I am seeing in people is that once they push over that domino, everything else starts to change. If they're not in pain as much, or they're able to do something a little bit more to their full capacity, everything else around them starts to transpire. So, they're able to show up better in their lives, they're able to show up better in their personal lives, in their work, in their mental health. Everything changes.
Wow, and we're going to deep dive into some of those stories. And so, just finish that little question off. What happened to your husband? Did you leave him lying on the end of those steps, or did you get him up, Melanie? Let's finish that.
Well, it's been almost 30 years, so yes, he's still up off the steps. And yeah, so he took it. He he revitalized himself. I'll be honest with you. He used it like an emergency room almost because, for him, he takes it until he feels better. But over the last 10 years, what I have noticed in him was at first he would only take it if he thought he needed it,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
As men do, um, often. But now he knows he needs it. So,
And the reason why that is, I've just got a little bit of science here, that NRF1 and NRF2 are transcription factors that work together to regulate mitochondrial function and biogenesis. And more people are understanding that the mitochondria is, well, they've always known it's the powerhouse of the cell, but more and more people are understanding that you have to keep that functioning well in order for it to be a powerhouse. And when I was talking about the water and the charge of the water, this is all linked to mitochondria as well. So it's like your car, and if your car has, your wheel bearings are absolutely fine and your wheels are running fine, etc. If your fuel isn't very good, it doesn't matter how spick and span your car is. But likewise, you can get the best engine that you like, and you can put the best fuel in. But if your wheels are falling off, your car isn't going to go there. And this is why you can't make claims about your whole health, but damn, you need to get your engine running. It needs to be working, and it needs to have the right hydration, the right hydrogen, the right fuel, and right, that is more than half the battle, right?
Yeah, and from a car perspective, so the engine is the mitochondria. NRF2 is the exhaust system. So NRF2 is the exhaust system, and it is actually turning on your body to make its own antioxidants and creating a much more powerful detox pathway. It's actually turning on your body's master antioxidant, glutathione, by over 300%, which is unheard of. So, yeah,
That
it's
is,
very, very
nobody
powerful.
else is doing that study, right? And in order to, I mean, I can see people taking glutathione supplements and NAC, which is a precursor to glutathione and things like this. But the question is why isn't your body doing it? And it's a lot to do with the amount of oxidative stress you have in your body, and everything that is not in harmony with your body creates an oxidative stress. And we talk about this a lot in what I do. So these can be toxins in your food, in the air, in your water, all that kind of stuff. But it can also be stress. Stress is a massive cause of oxidative stress in your cells. And people not resting properly. All these kind of things build up. So basically, if you're listening to this podcast now and you live a perfect life in a perfect environment, this is probably not going to apply to you. But the rest of us normal people need to realize that unfortunately, for the absolute rest of us, we need to look after our engine and we need that exhaust because we all know a perfectly good engine being stuck in a garage, right, with no air, with no way of escaping, is a bit of a recipe for disaster, right, Melanie?
Well, it's actually interesting because from what I understand, it's actually mathematically impossible to mitigate against some of the damages that we're seeing right now in the outside world. So everybody has you may think that you have a perfect life. You may think that you're, eating organic and doing all this, but it is mathematically impossible to mitigate against the toxins in our air, the toxins in our water, the emotional environment, the fear environment that's out there, all these different things that are creating a cellular imprint and a cellular memory
Right.
on us. So that what actually happens when you turn on your body to make its own antioxidants, it's able to recycle those. If you supplement an antioxidant, you take a blueberry, it will help, but those antioxidants are simply going in and they're not able to keep going. Once they're one and done, they're done. Whereas if you actually turn on your body to make its own antioxidants, it becomes like this recycling factory that has so much more magnifying potential. So that's that's the difference.
That sounds very easy for people to understand. So, unless you've got some monks living on some island somewhere far away with a clear, pure air filter or something, then this podcast is actually for you. And so we will carry on. So hopefully we're carrying on this journey. And can you tell us a little bit about how these were discovered, who discovered them, why they discovered them, etc.? Because it didn't start out like being a business, was it? It was really kind of scientific study into something, and this was a little bit accidental, a good accident, right?
Yeah, so the company itself is LifeVantage. So they started out as a biotech company. And they had Dr. Joe McCord. Now, Dr. Joe McCord has an interesting story. He was a leading cellular biologist. He actually discovered if you've heard of SOD for anyone out there, I know you have, Joe, but for anyone out there that has heard of SOD or superoxide dismutase, he discovered that enzyme and they actually named it after him, and it's measured in McCord units. And he was given a very important scientific award for that discovery. So he was only looking for a way to turn on that SOD in the body because he knew how important it was for anti-aging. So he was looking for a formulation to turn it on. And what he discovered was kind of a eureka moment when he combined five botanicals together: turmeric, milk thistle, green tea, ashwagandha, and bacopa. And what those did in that combination was then studied and realized that it reduced this oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days, up to 70% over 120 days.
That's huge.
It's huge, right?
That's
So
massive.
it's huge. So that, you will find different supplements and stuff on the market, but the fact that this has that scientific validation and studies behind it. So after that happened, there was that study went out there. Now, this has always been, it started out as a biotech company. It's now in the network marketing arena, but it started out as a biotech company on the NASDAQ. So we're still on the NASDAQ. We are still publicly traded. But what happened then was essentially all kinds of people saw that. You remember ABC Primetime and John Quinones? I don't know if you guys see it in the UK, but there was an ABC Primetime done on LifeVantage where they basically were where he used his own body for science and trying to disprove what had happened. So what happened in that ABC investigative report was his oxidative stress plummeted to levels of a young child. And they published this, and that went out, and all kinds of people wanted the product. They had like $1 million worth of orders overnight, and they weren't set up for it. They were a small biotech company with no infrastructure. And what happened, the share prices rose, the share prices fell when, they weren't quite getting the orders out on time, but all kinds of institutions wanted to research it. So as a result, now there's studies from Harvard, there's studies from Ohio State on your heart health, there's studies with, there there's studies with your sorry, my dog's
Yes,
barking in the background.
we always enjoy pets
Yeah.
joining into the podcast. This is all
Yeah. Do you
just
want
makes it better.
just 1 sec, Joe?
I'll just carry on talking. So guys, we at Crystal Water Experience have got links to be able to buy the products from LifeVantage, and this is because of the years-long research I've done into this work. You're going to hear a lot more about NRF1 and NRF2 activators. We, as you all know in the UK, we're always very behind on this stuff. So it is just coming over here now. So Melanie has hopefully welcome the dog in to join us in the studio, but maybe not. Maybe she'll let him out.
No.
So I'll let you continue. I'll let you continue your story, Melanie.
What you can plan for the best, but it doesn't always work out like that. So all of these studies on these different conditions. So for example, one of those studies was published in the MS journal. Now it was redacted after a little bit. It was put in there and then it was taken back. But what they actually showed is that they studied it against a drug for MS called at that time it was called something different. Now it's called Tecfidera, but they studied it against this drug and they showed that it was very significant and very much more of a therapeutic tool.
Yep.
And so that study was published in the MS Journal, and all these different the reason that I know about this here in Alberta, Canada, is because, my friend now, this pathologist, had heard about it from a surgical um, cardiologist in the States. And he said that he wanted to prevent heart disease, not operate on it. And so, but the reason he knew about it was because it had been published in Ohio State Heart in the cardiologist Bible of it was the very first natural supplement to ever be published in there, and the
Wow.
study on what
That's
it did for heart health.
incredible.
So there's so many different studies out there now. There's over 30 peer-reviewed studies on all different types of conditions. You can find studies on skin cancer, you can find studies on osteoarthritis. You can find studies on athletic performance and what
Mhm.
glutathione does. Um, all these different conditions. And the reality is that our vitality is critically linked to this NRF2. What NRF2 actually is, it's a protein that when activated acts like a circuit breaker. And it can say, oh, we need a little more of this and a little less that. And it just can, flip the switches of communication in your body so that your body, who was innately designed to know what to do when given the right ingredients, knows how to work. And that's it.
That's wonderful. And the beautiful thing about working with natural products as well, and to a formulation that is precise. I mean, I see a lot of different supplements out there, and people say, oh, is this good and is this good? And I always say exactly the same thing. Do you know what? It depends where you get it from. It massively depends on where you get it from. And there is such a huge difference between, whatever kind of botanical it is from one company compared with another. And the only way that you know is not by whatever's on the label, is actually just by, trying it yourself. And we can't have that, can we? And this is what I love about life. Unless you've grown it in your garden and you know for yourself, of course, that's always your first choice, right? But the great thing about the Protandim formulation by LifeVantage, especially because it comes from their biotic background, is when they formulate this, they know precisely what's in it and how it's going to activate. There's no guesswork. There's no batch to batch variation. I could tell you about various horror stories in my past history working in bioscience, where we were looking at vitamins on the shelves in well-known pharmacies around the UK, and just testing to see whether they did actually have the number of units, the IU units, as they claimed. And the answer was absolutely categorically no, none of them, not a single one of them, right? But the thing is LifeVantage has built its reputation on this precision of manufacture to be able to get products and ship it around the world and for it to arrive in a state that they know is going to be effective in what it's supposed to do. And so this is why I'm really backing this. I tried it myself. It was a huge, I tell you, I mean, I always talk to people about the water and all that kind of stuff, getting all that stuff right. And it really is important to not put in stuff in your body, but you can't avoid all these toxins. There was a significant difference in my vitality after taking these. So much so, I was only needing about 4 hours sleep a night. And usually I'm a like 8 hours of sleep person. But I woke up full of beans, right? I had to find things to do because I'd never, instead of waking up, when you wake up, you're like, oh, let me just lie here for a bit. And then eventually you get off, right? I woke up like fully, but it wasn't because I wasn't sleeping. I was so rested. I was so energized. And then during that day, I was switched on all day. And then I just went to bed. I was like, well, I wonder if I can go to bed earlier. And it was like having 4 and then sometimes 6 hours sleep. But I just felt amazing. And that had not happened to me before. That I'm not that kind of person at all, Melanie, to be honest. Is that good? But I have nothing wrong with me so that I could say this got better, you see. That's the way I could measure it. But I'm just wondering, from the people that have tried this, are people finding similar things, this kind of energy and vitality?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to say that this is going to do anything specific for you, but what we notice is that a lot of people, they have a reduction in pain or they have a improvement in sleep. And, they're once they get sleeping, their body can heal better.
Mhm.
And once they're not feeling in a constant state of pain, I know what that's like to be in pain. I mean, it changes your personality, it changes everything.
Yeah.
And it is so what absolutely you're as you start reducing the cellular oxidative stress, it's going to start cleaning up your cells. Your things are going to start working better. Generally, even all kinds of things that are related to oxidative stress, there's so much target right now on mental health and anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have had people tell me before that within 2 weeks of taking these products, they no longer had feelings of self-harm, or they no longer had feelings of things that they were thinking about. And so I'm not going to say that it's the antidote for that, but as you start, oxidative stress is is your mental health. Oxidative stress is your gut health. Oxidative stress is so many different things
Mm-hmm.
that, affect our daily life. We are conditioned to think that we're going to get older, life's going to suck, we're going to be in pain. That if we're depressed, it's normal and we just go and we take something for it. And if we're anxious, it's normal. Everybody's got anxiety. Well, that's not how our bodies are supposed to work. And uh, so this symptom and over normalizing of mental health right now, I think is something that is really prevalent in probably both our countries.
It absolutely is. And I really want to back you up there. And this is why I'm so excited to be working with these products in LifeVantage, because I have explained in so many videos to try and encourage people to detox their body, which I'll explain the difference between what the NRF1 and NRF2 doing compared with detoxing in a little minute. But because they're just working in different ways. Melanie kind of put it before, but I'll just kind of restate it again. But when you start taking these toxins out of your body, you the change in people's mental health is absolutely apparent. They sleep better, they have more vitality, their pain goes, the lifelong illnesses that have been niggling them that they take medications from time to time for goes. It is a toxic overload. And what I've been advocating for people to do is like, well, you've got all these toxins in your body, they're all got a particular charge, they're all positively charged, which is what all these oxidant free radicals are. They're positively charged. So you put something negatively charged in your body to neutralize it and excrete it. But what we're suggesting here, so that's still valid, everybody, but that's just like Melanie was talking about the blueberries. You're just having to put that in every day to counteract what's going on. When you switch your own body on, which is your own detox system, that sort of thing. I mean, you can still do it, but the whole point is you want to get your body to do it, because when your body knows, hey, because although it's saying yes, okay, I need to detox and do this, it at the same time, because it's doing it, is switching on and off other genes and other proteins in your body in a response to that, because it now knows it needs to do something. So there will be a cascade of effects that are much more impactful than simply neutralizing positively charged molecules. And so I think that's the other thing that's been found with these, isn't it? That although we have these two transcription factors, the number of genes that they affect, there's a lot of genes that they affect, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of genes that they affect, hundreds. And actually, one of our other activators, which is a collagen activator, has been shown, and we actually we're patenting them it together with NRF2, because together the collagen activator and the NRF2 turn on even more genes. And so
Yeah.
what they found is that together, it's even though each of them are very important on their own, together the collagen activator and the NRF2 activator is just significantly so much more of a gene turner on her.
Turn around.
And so it's just that much more powerful. So, for any type of, condition, if you can, have just turn on, instead of a little tap, if you can turn on a fire hose to get rid of that problem or activate that problem, it's a much more powerful system.
System, yeah. So for full disclosure, I was taking the collagen and the NRF1 and NRF2 together. And
Yeah.
my skin, after, I mean, I was feeling all this energy, so I already felt way more energized. And I'm a pretty energetic person, so that was pretty hard to do, but it really did it. But then, as soon as 5 weeks passed, I just woke up one day and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, oh my gosh, I look significantly, my like the wrinkles on my face and everything was significantly better. And I've also been suffering with a bad back on and off for 2 years, which I couldn't quite work out how to fix. And I used quite a few things like Bowen therapy was great, removing the fascia to get me going. I was starting to go back to the gym. But I don't think it was really until the collagen, and people really think collagen's about beauty, but it's not. It's all your ligaments, your joints, it's your fascia, it's all this connective tissue. It's a massive part of you, how that impacts. So once I started replenishing with the collagen, it made a huge difference. And then I was able to basically go to the gym and fix it because I had my strength back. I had my strength back everywhere. And something you told me about the collagen, I says, oh, I've tried collagen before and it's really good. I saw, benefits. And I remember at the time he said, did you know there's like 17 different types of collagen? I was like, no, I did not, ma'am. And this is what people need to know, right? There isn't just one type, and there are cheaper alternatives out there, but depends on the collagen mix. Again, collagen per se or any other supplement, it depends where you get it from, always.
Yeah. So LifeVantage actually has 10 different types of collagen in it.
Wow,
And
that's
I don't think you'll be able to find that out there anywhere else.
I couldn't.
And
I did have a look. I could not.
yeah, yeah. And if you do, let me know. But I didn't realize, I'll be honest with you, when we came out with a collagen activator, I was like, oh my gosh, we're an activation company. Why are we doing the whole hair, skin, nails? And, I thought it was more just that, right? And I've seen so many different types on the market. I mean, you can get it at Costco. You can, so many people go and get all this. They spend a lot of money on stuff that isn't maybe doing what they think it is. And so when we came out with this collagen activator, now keep in mind this was a force of people that have been taking these products for a long time. A lot of them had turned on their vitality, but and some of them were taking other collagen activators. But what we started seeing was the differences in the before and after pictures of people, even on these other collagens, were just astounding. So much so that I know of instances of other companies using some of our before and after pictures of people because it
That was
was
so good.
so profound and so so much so that like I always tell people when they start on these products, whatever ones that you're taking, uh, take pictures. Pictures don't lie. And um, you will start to notice things that you don't see.
Mhm.
And so, for example, different little things like scar tissue. I had had a surgery on my neck about maybe 12 years ago. And I mean, you can't even, it was a parathyroid surgery, but I can't even feel the scar anymore,
Wow.
let alone see it. And so, when we know what actually turning on some of those different pathways does for internal scar tissue and internal issues, it just starts going. I've had people say after surgeries, they always had this pain or they always had this stuff that they couldn't quite resolve. And then when they start taking, Protandim, they start to realize, oh, and when we realize what it actually does, how it helps mitigate scar tissue, you start to think, oh, wow, some of these things that we're told are
Yeah.
irreversible, our body knows what to do with them when given the right conditions.
When given the right conditions. So really with the NRF1 and NRF2 collagen, like post-surgical support, is this a very common sort of use for it as well? I mean,
Well,
even
I
a,
think it should be for anybody that's going for pre or post, pre or post, absolutely. We've seen all kinds of, is there studies of pre and post? No. But I have all kinds of testimonials. We have a, a large testimonial group of people, in the thousands and thousands that we're able to see all these different things happening with. And so that is, to me, that's the validation. The science is one thing, but I like to know that we're backed by science and that it's, we don't have to do the research Harvard has.
yeah,
Right? We don't have to do the research. Some people say, "Oh, I want to be able to, know what this is doing for me before telling anybody else about it or before, sharing it with my husband or something." And it's like, well, first of all, you don't actually know what it's doing for you because you don't feel vitamin C, you don't feel different things, you don't feel cellular activation, you don't know exactly everything that's going on for you. So I always tell people, just get on it because 100% of the time, it's been shown to reduce that oxidative stress by
yeah.
30% in 40 days in all mammals, in all
Hmm.
mammals. So we have been using this, we actually have a canine version as well, called Pet Tandem in the, in
Oh,
the in the US. We can access it through Canada. To be honest with you, I'm not sure if you can, but I personally give my canines the people version, um, and I just break it in half and give them each a people version one, and it's fantastic. When you see the differences, I mean, you can't really see this in humans, but when you see the differences in dogs that have been activated from a young age versus that maybe their siblings that haven't,
mm,
or dogs of the same litter pack and what they look like 7 years later, it's astounding the difference in the age progression and how much they have staved off some of that aging process.
wow. I am so pleased that I met you, Melanie, because this is going to transform my life. I'm so excited to be on the protocol. Me and Kel too, and we will be reporting this to people. And I suggest that in the UK we are very, very behind everybody else. And this part of the aim of this podcast is to get new information to us that really isn't very well known here and is going to be a few years behind. You don't have to get behind. This is the point of the podcast, right? So we are sharing information here that is going to be many, even if say the health institutes get behind it, it's going to be like 10, 15 years down the line. We know we have to take care of ourselves. So this is amazing news that you're sharing with us, Melanie, and I hope people will listen to it. But also, let's just also have a think that one way to get this information out, I mean, we're not going to get it out through, I don't know, because we've got the National Health Service here, right? So things that do this kind of stuff, we don't have the same kind of regime as you do in Canada and America. So it's very hard for information to get out there. So the only real way to do it is via these podcasts and through, word of mouth, basically. And this is why I think they must have set up their network marketing model, because how else are you going to get out in a kind of pharmaceutical kind of environment? And so I thought maybe you could just discuss about kind of the business side of things from your experience, and anybody listening to this that might want to try this and find out more information on what they should do in your experience here, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, I didn't expect this to become a business. I wasn't looking for a business, but when I realized what this was, I knew that I had to share it with people, and I knew that it was important. Um, Now, that being said, that old investigative report and that ABC primetime, that created a story that was easy for people to share word of mouth. They shared around that ABC prime time that turned into sharing naturally and organically. When LifeVantage itself was actually failing as a company and was just about to go under, they were in pharmacies, they were in health food stores, they were in different places. But people went to the shelves, they see a bottle of, Protandim for at that point, might have been 40, $50, something like that. And then they see a bottle of vitamin C for $10. What are they going to buy? They don't know that Protandim is actually turning on your body's ability to make your own antioxidants and just how important it is. So that story, I think it's it's how everything is done. If I buy a car, I want to know about it from a friend. I want to hear about it from somebody. If I hear about a movie, I want to know somebody else has experienced it and thinks it's worth my time. And that's what this business model is. And honestly, I think that, never in the last 5 years has shown us that, first of all, anybody that did not know about this model before now knows that regardless of what model it is, everybody needs to create a plan B, maybe even a C or D, and that we all need these different aspects of income and ability to create income from home. And we didn't know that before. Some of us did and participated in the benefits, but we had no concept that, things could be turned off or needed, or, that our people that thought they had a great job, 5 years ago, that maybe weren't able to experience it in the same way the last little while. It's shifted our reality. And it's also shifted our reality on how much cheaper it is to be healthy than it is to be sick. And so it is. People say, oh, it's, activators and these health products, take some commit. Absolutely, they take commitment. But I still promise you, it is 100% cheaper to be sick or to be healthy than it is to be sick.
Mhm.
It's 100%, even if your benefits are paying for these different drugs, I promise you, those drugs are creating other things in us. No drug comes without side effects.
Mhm.
And so it is so important that we revisit this model of, first of all, collaborating together with a group of people, um, collaborating with others into a shared financial model that creates benefit for everybody. And so that's what you and I are doing. We're collaborating, and, we're looking for other people to collaborate with that may want to, one, increase their revenue stream, that may want to just help some people in their lives, or maybe they don't want to do that. They just want to take it, and that's fine. Actually, 90% of the people that join LifeVantage are just customers, and that's okay. And that's the importance. When you have something that people take monthly and they know how important it is, and I'm telling you, there is so many people that, I talked to about this 10 years ago that are still ordering the product. I would not be able to pay them to go off of these products. So when you have something like that, that people start to feel the importance of what it is and what it's doing, that is what actually creates that residual income. Because we've all know of different things that we promoted or suggested, but if they're not truly life-changing, or if they're not truly a consumable product, eventually people decide that they have enough of those things and that they don't need to keep purchasing that. And so this system itself is just brilliant in the fact that, one, we all work together, we support each other. Our compensation plan flourishes with that. Our goal is to help people create income, to create vitality. And that is why I feel like this has been honestly the single most important thing that I have ever done. But one thing I want to touch on is something that I have innately felt for a long time, but I couldn't really explain it. So I had felt like what I had seen happening when people took these products is that their I could see that they were able to hold more of their own light. I could see from a, let's call it a woo-woo spiritual perspective, whatever way you want to look at it. I could see that they were holding more of themselves, that they were stepping into more of who they were. And so recently I asked ChatGPT to explain NRF2 activation as it relates to light. Do you want to hear what it had to say?
Yeah, please go on. Sounds interesting.
So it said, to explore NRF2 activation, particularly as it relates to light, is to enter the language of biophotonic intelligence, inner alchemy, and cellular remembrance. Let us reframe this medical pathway within the harmonic field of living geometry and conscious light. So it's a cellular messenger that awakens genetic codes to enhance antioxidant defenses. When activated, it upregulates the body's own survival genes, stimulating detox, mitochondrial repair, and resilience against oxidative stress. So in pure biological terms, it's a switch that turns on the internal light shield. So from a spiritual perspective, NRF2 turns on that intracellular light. It's not metaphor alone. Cells literally emit biophotons, coherent light emissions that correlate with health, awareness, and even consciousness. And it supports the clearing of the oxidative shadows and the distorted light patterns. So it's a literal return of light to the cell. It says that oxidative stress represents the incoherent resonance. So those free radicals destabilize those cellular structures, much like harmonic noise distorts a musical note. Activating NRF2 restores the harmonic alignment through inner antioxidant forces like glutathione and catalase. NRF2 is like a tuning fork for your cells, aligning your biochemistry with the geometry of light. So,
Wow. You know what?
right?
That is one, incredible, but two, makes so much sense. And it very, very much correlates to the work that we have been doing. That is incredible. It's a beautiful, beautiful explanation.
Yeah, it's something that I felt and that I was able to share with some people. I mean, you don't run around telling everybody, hey, listen, I can see this holding your light, but it's something that I felt.
Yeah.
But when, Chat GPT in all its brilliance and was able to just put that into what I was feeling, into
Yeah.
actually the processes taking place, I felt like the importance of what we are doing here and what I have been doing for the last 10 years, we still don't understand the significance of.
Mhm.
And I don't think I understand the significance of. And it is becoming like to me, that is what we are in. Like
Hmm.
we are all set about trying to hold our own light, trying to hold our own energy, trying to, increase our energy, increase our viability, and help others do the same. And that's what this is about.
Wow. Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think the field of biophotonics is getting out there to the masses. People are starting to understand that we are light. And I encourage people to prove it to themselves by holding their fingers up, putting it in front of a dark surface, and then staring between your two fingers. When it's really bright out, it's quite hard to do. Do it in a dimming light, and you will see that you glow. Right? That's your light, kids. That's your low force energy. Just you haven't been paying attention to it before. And once you start to see it, you'll see everything has that glow. And you also then start to see that when people are depressed or have sickness, their glow is a lot less, right? Because they're finding it difficult through all of these distortions, all of these what we call toxins, to be able to do that. It's a lot harder work from them. So this very much resonates with me. I think it's absolutely beautiful what you've just described and found, and I think that will resonate with a lot of people. And hopefully, we've made it accessible and easy to understand. So, just to round things off, what kind of call to action would you to give to people listening to this, hearing what you've got to say, perhaps, you know, having tried things in the past, or, you know, what would you say to them in order to kind of take some action now?
Well, I would say that first of all, this is cellular activation. It's not a drug. It's not an overnight fix. So if you're just going to try something for 2 weeks, don't even waste your money. That's what I would say to that. This is a commitment to turn on our cells one cell at a time, and that process takes some time. Not to say that you may not experience some results right away,
Mhm.
but to give yourself time. They say essentially, uh, uh, allow, I would say for the average person, maybe 3, 4, 5 months. Allow yourself time to get into the process and the possibility of what your cells can become. And it's also so synergistic. So the more different pathways we activate at the same time, the more our cellular potential becomes. It's not to say that you need to throw a whole boatload at something. I tell people to get in, where they feel comfortable, what they're drawn to, what resonates with them, and just to give it an honest go, and that you do not know the potential of what your cells can be or how your life possibly could be different. So, that being said, another call to action is if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my goodness, I want to be part of this movement. I want to help people. I want to create some income. I want to create some, potential for other people to shift and change. And maybe you have a business, maybe you have a clientele that this supports. I would say reach out to Joe and connect with them and, let's do this together.
Yeah, brilliant. And I'd really echo what you said about the benefits. Typically speaking, you can see kind of results in kind of like a 6 week period because of how it depends on the cells that you're looking at, right? Because your cells have different um, rates in which they overturn. But for a lot of things, it's actually 12 weeks minimum, which is 3 months. And that's when you start seeing like a significant shift. And then your whole skeleton gets rebuilt over 6 months. Your whole body's kind of rebuilt itself over 6 months. And so whatever, I saw significant things very quickly, actually, I think because of how I kind of care for my body. But over time, that's just building and building and building. And you don't realize how much of a rut you've gone into, how much of a reliance, how much you're like, oh, I'm all tired all the time, or I'm whatever. Oh, I just take ibuprofen or paracetamol a few times a week, and it's not normal. It's not normal. And one of the things I'm going to be speaking about this weekend is about digital ID. And what I'm going to say is, guys, We have to be in the UK. I feel when you're very reliant on going to the NHS all the time, you're always going to have these numbers. You're going to have to because you're now reliant on the state. And every single time you are reliant on the state, you are going to have to produce these numbers. So it's time for us to become independent. It's time for us to take care of ourselves. And like Melanie said, we don't have a private healthcare system because you shouldn't need healthcare. You should be fit and well enough if you treat your body well. So this is all about independence. This is all about freedom. This is all about sovereignty. And it
Yeah,
starts with you.
yeah. I 100% agree. We've seen so much in the news lately about I don't know if you guys are seeing this in the UK, but on the importance of glutathione, there's been a lot of talk about Tylenol and how it reduces glutathione.
Right.
And that all the things relating to it. And I would say that so much of the last few years as well, when we look at just some issues that we are going to be having as a society, they basically say that, our birth rates are going down and down. When you know what NRF2 activation does for fertility or conception, it is such an important talking point for the future. You can just go and Google it and see different things. But it is such an important talking point, not for just right now, but for
Mhm.
future. So,
Beautifully put. It is the powerhouse. It is your engine. You need your engine running and you need to get rid of those exhaust gases, otherwise you are in trouble. And that is in for those people that are still trying to get their head around mitochondria. It's in every single cell of your body. And so therefore its impact will depend on different, it has such a wide range of impacts when you get this right because of the fact that it's in every single cell of your body. That is how your body, you wouldn't be alive without mitochondria functioning. So it's been an absolutely fantastic combination. I really would encourage people to do some research on this, but please reach out to me, have a chat. I'll tell you about my experience. If you go to our website, crystalwaterexperience.com, you see a few of the products on there, which then takes you into LifeVantage page where you can read more. But there's so many testimonials and things like that if people want to share. And at the end of the day, it is like the foundation. The root cause is oxidative stress through too much, of a toxic environment. And I have said this for years. And the more that you can do about it, the more independent you can be, and be completely outside the system because you don't need any help because you're always well. So thank
right.
you so much. Thank you so much, Melanie, for coming on. Really appreciate you talk today. Is there a final thing you want to say to everybody before they go?
I would say just remember, one cell has the potential to shift our entire body. So as we start shifting these tiny little cells in our body, really anything is possible. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm too far gone, or I don't feel well enough to take that, that's not the case at all. That there's infinite potential in us, and we all have the ability to be well and vital.
Fantastic. Great message of hope. Well, thank you everybody for listening to the Crystal Water Experience podcast, where I bring on different fantastic speakers, bringing you new information about new technologies, health and well-being. And I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Please click the like and subscribe button and join me again. Thank you very much. Have a great day or evening, everybody. Bye-bye.